These aren't the same couches, and those are just straight up seats. This is definitely business class. I guess this room gets used for way more business class travelers on the Borealis, but we're taking the Empire Builder, and it is classically late. I'm talking 5 hours. Getting a little better, but 5 hours late. There was a freight train in their way after Havre, Montana. It was fine before that, so we're delayed today. And if you recall back to my Borealis video, I pondered what would happen if the Borealis and the Builder leave at about the same time. Well, today the Builder is leaving after the Borealis, unless it picks up a lot of extra time, which is unlikely. We're going to get coach passengers out there, and we're also going to get anyone that didn't switch from the Builder to the Borealis, which I was offered, but I didn't take it because we've got a sleeping car. We're traveling with my 7-month-old daughter today on her first train trip, and we were not going to subject coach passengers or business class passengers on Borealis to all the things that come with a 7-month-old baby. Furniture to hold bags, that's good. We got sticks, beef sticks, not coffee sticks, and nothing. These are the snack boxes that can be found on the trains. We got books, we got magazines, we got a new paper locomotive, and the usual pamphlets. It's certainly still the Empire Builder Lounge in St. Paul. I mean, it being a Sunday is probably better for capacity-wise, but they also don't tell people to arrive until 30 minutes. So we've got some time before this place really fills up. It's appropriately empty for a Sunday. But unlike the last few trips, the coffee shop at the bike store should be open. If you live on the Great Plains of North America, your train travel options are either a transcontinental Amtrak land cruise aboard a potentially hours-late Empire Builder with the dated luxury of superliner cars, the Borealis with its Spartan Horizon cars, or you aren't aware of the existence of passenger trains at all. Most people have a personal vehicle they've been setting their lives around for years, so most that are lucky enough to live close by a station like St. Paul, Minnesota, aren't familiar with taking trains by reason of the scarcity of trains and useful mass transit in general. Travel with kids benefits from flexibility, and Amtrak has a really good niche with the appeal of the train for kids and the conceptually less stressful than the airport approach to travel for adults. For us, the Empire Builder's sleeper car option was insurance that our 7-month-old daughter wouldn't have an additionally stressful trip. It's Chair Club. That's relatively new. An event is threatening to unfold. I'm just glad that we have the full waiting area of the concourse available. Starting to collect some folks, I would assume, for the Borealis departure. There's only 2 other folks in the first class waiting room, and they're also on the Builder. When you live out in the middle of the country on a transcontinental railroad line, the process of getting eastbound on the Empire Builder is one of monitoring the train, checking its status, knowing when to be there, knowing what to expect, and generally spending a night in Chicago. Connections are just not available. Even with the new Borealis, it arrives too late to make most connections except for the Lakeshore Limited. It's a railroad, it's terrestrial travel. You don't end up with it being able to hopscotch over another train. You have to be prepared for delays, you have to be prepared to wait and take in what you can find along the way. With my Amtrak Guest Rewards companion fare coupon, Megan's base fare was free, and kids 2 years old and under aren't charged a fare at all. This made around 8 hours in a roomette from St. Paul to Chicago just over $200 one way. Our cost for airfare wouldn't have been that low, and we've yet to fly with our 7-month-old daughter, nor have we driven more than 3 hours with her, so the train was an easy choice for us. This past week, we didn't even have any Amtrak service in Minneapolis and St. Paul because the temperature was too cold. Borealis and Empire Builder were canceled, but luckily this is the second eastbound train out of Seattle and Portland this week. It's gotten better than it was back when I started taking Amtrak, when there were so many oil trains that were so long and the sidings weren't built out long enough, and those caused delays that where if it was 3 hours late, it was basically running on time. Today we're gonna get into Chicago at 8 o'clock, but we have no connections to make, just a hotel to get to, and it's a Sunday night. Should be easy, even with all the baby stuff we're carrying. Just one bus ride up Michigan Avenue, and then we have a few days in Chicago before coming back on the builder again in a roomette, having used the companion coupons, because me and Megan just do not get a chance to go out any further with a 7-month-old baby, and a lot of our paid time off being taken up with baby activities here in town. This 3 hours between the departure of the Empire Builder as scheduled and the Borealis, we gotta either change that timetable or we gotta add some more Borealis trains. And I get it, we just don't have the manufacturers to make enough rail cars to make that happen as fast as it really needs to. I think the Borealis has been successful enough thus far to say it wouldn't be a bad investment. It's still nice that the interest is there for rail travel. I just really hope that people's expectations start to become more realistic with it. It's a train, and it's often late. And if you expect it to be on time, I mean, you can't even expect an airplane to be on time nowadays. You can't expect traffic to be predictable in a lot of cases. You just gotta kind of enjoy the world around you. The line. Oh no, the line. It's substantial. It's a good service. People want to take it. In this case, we needed a roomette for the baby. Versus the economic option of about $80 for 2 coach tickets, the sleeper car afforded us insurance that our daughter could take in the experience without having to constantly react to everyone around her and whatever level of civility they might be exhibiting on their journey. We probably won't have too many ons for the builder when it arrives here, but we are definitely leaving after the Borealis, and hopefully it doesn't take on any residual delays that affect us. The Hound! Here on out, that is the train that is ahead of us. I doubt they'd be able to shove too many freight consists in between the 2 Amtrak trains. There is still a program megabus trip to Milwaukee from here. There she goes. More convenient route. They are rounding us up to take us to the approaching building. Borealis at best in business class would have cost about $30 less, but offers no sleeper car to isolate the sometimes loud existence of a 7-month-old from other travelers. Only the Empire Builder offers sleeper car accommodations from St. Paul by virtue of the 2-night journey it makes across the country, which was also the undoing of its on-time performance today as a freight train got stuck in front of it out west in Montana, train over 5 hours late on this Sunday in the winter. We were notified by Amtrak via text that all Empire Builder passengers would be afforded the capability to change trains with no fee or cancel for a refund due to the delay. Ostensibly, this would see many passengers onto the Borealis train's on-time departure. Its running time, the same as the Builder, provides passengers the same set of destinations, as well as Sturtevant and the Milwaukee Airport, but potentially at a higher cost due to the suddenly increasing demand on the dynamic pricing model Amtrak works with when one train is running late or canceled. Business class on the Borealis with its 1-2 seating would have been comfortable in the same vein as the Roomette, but nowhere near as private and lacking amenities. Ultimately, we weren't in a hurry and had no connections to make in Chicago, and we wanted the Roomette experience. So while in our case it didn't make sense to switch trains, it would seem based on observing Amtrak staff's interaction with passengers at the depot, enough coach passengers had switched trains, such that the Borealis would become sold out with reserved seats booked further down the line. Still, a handful of folks were present at boarding time for the delayed Builder.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome
The bi-level experience of the river route and further Milwaukee Road route, arriving fashionably late as it often had been when I began taking Amtrak in 2009, was a great classic experience for me. As I covered in the Borealis launch videos, frequency is the primary driver of commuters and tourists to destinations. People like more options for when they can depart and arrive. The Empire Builder has been the train that several generations of Midwesterners have called upon for travel between Chicago and the Pacific Northwest. Living within the so-called dead day of the route, before the Mississippi River but after Glacier National Park, is subject to weather and freight congestion delays on the Northern Transcontinental Railroad and its various tributary routes approaching Chicago, often seeing the Builder delayed as we are today, and occasionally more so. The rails here are as direct as any road presently is, with commute times similar to driving a vehicle but far longer than by airlines when going with Amtrak. Going first class in a roomette affords one the lounge prior to boarding, and you get to bypass the coach passenger boarding line. Time spent on the train in the sleeper car is comfortable and private, but the option to walk to the dining car or sightseer lounge allows for passengers to be social. 7 or 8 hours fly by on a superliner, whereas the Borealis feels more like a bus with a snack bar. And that route will have business class at best accommodation. It's all much more relaxing than driving to Chicago, though. That is not the normal location of the window removal instruction. That is. These cars look like they sat around Seattle for a week.
Time, let Gina know that you are in fact sleeper class. She's handing out ham and cheese, turkey and cheese, Asian noodle bowl, Greek salad, or hummus. At your leisure, ladies and gentlemen, she is asking to take full advantage of those items. Once again, it's going to be ham and cheese sandwich or turkey and cheese sandwich. She has veggie hummus as well as Asian noodle bowl or a Greek salad as your final option.
In an upcoming Borealis video, I'll shed some light on the attitudes of train ridership in the isolated upper Midwest, but on this Empire Builder trip, the great characters of the Seattle-based onboard staff and the diligence of the conductors and engineers saw us through with no additional delays into Chicago. Passengers didn't seem very surly, but in the sleeper it's hard to tell when you're enjoying the peace of forward progress toward the Windy City and the sway of the bi-level coaches, isolated in your roomette. Now, one of the selling points is there's a shower. Several kinds of soaps and shampoos. The whole package now back here. Once you get inside, it's really roomy, like my arm is fully extended. We got this bit and that bit. And then all the action up there. Get underneath it. Shower. Now, you're going to be in a little game where you're going to have to, hold on. Because you are on a train while you're attempting to do this, and it is a little silly. Okay. Update. Those are impossible to get the liquid out of. They're like a couple drops. You can't squeeze a square, okay? Also, this is fun. I don't know if you can see that, but it's either a very translucent pipe or it's just going down onto the ballast on the track bed. I don't know. Here, let me see if I can. Also, yeah, that it looks like that. No, that's the track bed. Okay. The shower was great. The train car is in need of some help. The roomette worked well enough for us for our day use. Our baby daughter didn't appear any more or less moody than usual. She napped on us and fed in the small accommodations without much more trouble than it is to typically travel with two adults in the smallest sleeper car room type. I would take this trip with her again, though as she gets older we'll likely switch to Borealis as she develops the capability to better entertain herself.
Get out of here, interloping soap. Your king is already present.
I'll say for the extra sway in the high-level cars, the baby appeared not to be affected, and the roomette adequately contained her occasional cries or wails, but mostly she was transfixed by the forward motion and scenery of this classic train route. We were in the Portland-originating sleeper, last car of the consist. The walk through the coaches to the sightseer lounge and dining car with the baby was uneventful despite the soft track bed along the Mississippi running part of the route, kind of making walking difficult. Settling down, though, as we came through the driftless region of Wisconsin, it became much more easy.
This evening for the entire train, due to the lateness of our train today. Once again, please listen for your car number to be called before heading to the dining car. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and begin our complimentary beef stew meal this evening. Once again, we're going to start with sleeping car passengers only. You're traveling in the 2830, the 830, or the 831, and you'd like to take advantage of our complimentary dinner tonight, please make your way to the dining room.
Yeah, this one's not for you.
After the Toma and Watertown subdivisions, Milwaukee suburbs took over, and darkness laid down upon us as we eventually turned south to run the old Milwaukee Road's main line route into Metro territory. We would get an opportunity to alight the builder on the south tracks of Chicago Union Station. Our train was due for a much-needed cleaning and equipment servicing after being left in Seattle, idle for several days during the extreme cold weather that stopped builder service the week prior to our trip. The trains pulling through to the opposite platform also afforded passengers on board bound for the eastbound Lakeshore Limited to New York and Boston a cross-platform transfer to their waiting train. Despite our late arrival, we had an easy bus connection via the tunnel at the south gates that takes passengers right up to CTA buses. Trips with Megan mean I stay at nicer places, so the Hotel St. Clair at Ontario and Michigan became our home base for the next 3 nights.
That was a late builder, but not the latest I've ever had.
Doing that with a 7-month-old, baby eventually will want to go to sleep, and when the train is late, that gets ridiculous when you're getting off the train, but ultimately it wasn't that bad. She was actually much better once we got on the bus, and compared to my older daughter's first time on a bus in Chicago, that was much, much easier. Not a peep, and she seemed very fascinated, like her old man. But I'll summarize more in the morning. I am beat tired. See you then. It's actually been a couple of days now, and we're at the zoo. Was it worth taking a 7-month-old on Amtrak? Arguably, it was the best choice. Though we got in really late, baby did really fine on the bus. Just getting her dressed to get off the train after 8 or some hours. That didn't go as great as it could have. If we tried to do that on an airline, probably would have been worse. Would have been quicker, so it would have been like a Band-Aid rather than like a train ride. Time spent in transit with her was absolutely great. So I would say the Roomette was definitely worth it for privacy of feedings, but other than that, probably could have done plane and got her used to that and checked that off the list. It's a lot like getting a baby to eat new foods, trying to figure out if they're allergic to them. She's not allergic to trains. Verdict's still out on planes. The following Wednesday, we caught the westbound Empire Builder, again in a sleeper bound for Portland, with us getting off after 8 hours in St. Paul. We're in the sleeper. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna have my hands full getting on the train. Probably should go with the red cap, but like I say, there's a limited number of red caps. There's probably people much more deserving of them than me. So we're gonna get on board soon. Because they have weird chairs like this. What's going on here? There's one TV over in the corner playing Paw Patrol. It's fairly loud. And there's a bigger TV in the next room that has this like echo effect going on because of some delay thing on with some speakers. I don't know. It's really, really weird. It's been like this all day too, every time we come in. They also don't use the Amtrak cups in here anymore. It's like, it's first class, but it's always weird. I guess that's why I like it. We experienced a 40-minute delay to boarding due to the late release of the train from the yard, and a further 5 minutes after that to wrangle everyone on board.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amtrak.
No.
Also, the first meal that will be served tonight, ladies and gentlemen, will be dinner. We'll give you the time to choose or pick from. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Sit back and enjoy your ride. All right, attention passengers, may I have your attention, please? Again, this is train 727, the Empire Builder. We're going to talk about 3 things that concern safety on any train you are on. First, please take a few moments to review the...
Again, we boarded from the south tracks and got to walk the full length of the train. This trip saw me hauling 2 bags we stored with us in the sleeper, so that we wouldn't need to take the time at Chicago nor St. Paul to await the unloading of checked luggage, which would have been free for us or any passengers. This meant no train views upon boarding on the platform, but plenty of sightseer lounge views after we got things settled in the room.
Required for your safety that you wear shoes at all times when walking the train. Again,
This trip held the same timekeeping record as our trip inbound, with a couple holds for freight trains, but mostly the same as what we experienced on the ride-in a few days prior, just in the dark.
located in the lower lift of the observation car, which is located in the center of the train. You're going to know the observation car by the windows above head and the seats facing outwards for you to enjoy the view. There's also 8 tables upstairs in the observation car. Those are tables if you brought food from another restaurant or from home to use to eat. Also, those are the only tables that you can bring out any kind of electronics, books, anything that takes up a table. You're going to be sitting there playing games or anything like that. Those are the tables to use. Here's the style of cafe that's a real small cafe. There's only room for 3 people inside the cafe. Once the third person leaves, you're welcome to come in. But once again, keep it to 3 people inside of the cafe. With all of that said and done, cafe and lounge, I'll take my dinner break.
The baby napped a lot more, but was thankfully awake when she shared a table with us in an otherwise vacant half of the dining car for our 5:30 dinner reservation. If you bring a baby to dinner, you basically get both sides of the table for yourselves. They consider the baby the third person in your party. We'll certainly need to get our daughter accustomed to air travel, but this simple solution was ultimately a pleasant start to getting our daughter out and wandering with her parents. The Empire Builder remains a useful train for the Midwest with its lounge car, dining car, and first-class accommodations, hopefully continuing to attract folks that want something more to do than just sit in a seat on the Borealis. Okay, that is the most rare I've ever had a steak anywhere, and this is the least full I've ever had a dining car on the Empire Builder. Making shorter trips by sleeper car, those that don't involve a nighttime portion, may seem excessive or unnecessary, but there's a lot to be said about the value of privacy and the serenity Amtrak offers in the sleeper car. Trips to Chicago need not be a process of feeling crowded, such as on airlines. The inconveniences of late-running trains, especially eastbound, are certainly a drawback, but with some planning to stay over in cities along the route, these transcontinental trains can provide a relaxing run between cities on trips, letting you see new landscapes without the need to monitor traffic along the way. It just takes a longer pace to get across and enjoy the varied scenery of Western North America. And with the Borealis as a backup, there's more assurance now of being able to make a trip on time than in previous years. So families ought to try to appreciate Amtrak, or at least see if they can tolerate it as a potential occasionality in their travel plans. We should have faster trains out here in the Midwest, but traveling by Superliner is more of a land cruise type of affair. It's possible the corridor of these trains might get upgraded for capacity, but the river route isn't likely to be a place that's going to see faster trains in the European vein. In an upcoming Borealis video, I'll touch on some of the potentially faster and alternate routes between Chicago and points west, but this trip was about getting the first-class classic train route experience and the general experience of travel by train as a possible experience she might choose in her life's future travel plans. So in that way, this was another fantastic visit to my future hometown, and I hope you enjoyed the perspective. Like and leave a comment about your experiences with families traveling on Amtrak. Good or bad, I appreciate the discussion, and I'll be back in the next video with another slightly more than mundane wander around somewhere in America. Thanks, I'll see you on that trip. We can head all the way up for dinner here.